Good morning, everyone. You know, in baseball, they say 3 strikes and you're out. This week's parsha also says basically the same thing. 3 strikes and you're out. This week's parsha is about saras. Saras is the spiritual leprosy that a person would get, these white lesions that came about as a result of speaking lashon hara, speaking gossip, speaking slander about another person. But the way it worked is like this. First, the person's house would get like a mold, a mildew on the walls. And the Kohen would examine the home, and the home had to be demolished, the stones had to be removed. If that wasn't a good enough warning for the person to stop their gossip, then his garments would start to get these moldy, mildewy spots. And if that didn't stop him, then his skin would get it, and at that point the Kohen would send him out of the camp to be quarantined for 7 days. After 7 days, the Kohen would come and examine him. If he's still not cured, which means he didn't change his ways, he was kept here for another 7 days. And the Torah tells us as follows. Torah says that V'ra'o HaKohen, the Kohen will go back after the 7 days, and if the Kohen sees, V'hinei lo hafach hanega et eino. What it literally means is the nega is the affliction, the leprosy, did not change es eino. Now in this context, the word eino, Paul Shaviv gave a whole talk about translating the Torah. The literal meaning of the word eino is your eye. But in this context, eino means its appearance. The affliction didn't change its coloration, its appearance. So the Kohen has to quarantine him for another 7 days. But it's curious that the Torah uses a word that has a dual meaning. It could mean its appearance, the affliction didn't change its appearance, or it didn't change its eye. What does it have to do with the eye? So the Chadushi Harim, one of the Gay Rebbe, says something very beautiful. He says, what is the source of lashon hara? You know, lashon hara is the symptom. Every doctor knows when you cure someone, you can't just cure the symptom, because if you only cure the symptom, you're not going to get to the root of the problem. You have to do what they call holistic medicine. You have to cure the cause. So we know people speak gossip. That's the symptom. But where does it come from? What's the cause? So you know what the cause of gossip is? It's all the eye. When you look at another person, how do you look at them? Do you look at them with a good eye, with a generous eye, with a kind eye, with a benevolent eye, with a loving eye, with a compassionate eye? Or do you look at them with a mean-spirited, negative, narrow-minded eye? When you look at your family members, your kids, right? You see the good in them because you love them, so you see the good in them. You look at someone else's kid sometimes, he's a bandit, he's a brat, he's spoiled, right? But on your own kids, you don't see it. Why? Because you look at them with a loving eye. So therefore the Torah says, you know what the root of the lashon hara is? The person didn't change his eye. It's not just that he didn't change his speech. He didn't change the way he looks at other individuals. And then the Chadush Harim takes it one step further in the most magnificent way. He says the word in this verse and throughout the parsha is nega. Nega means affliction. The affliction, the tzaraz, didn't change its appearance. He says, what are the 3 letters of nega? Nun, gimel, ayin. Now what's if you were to take the last letter of nega and move it from the end of the word to the front of the word? Instead of nun, gimel, ayin, it would be ayin, nun, gimel. Instead of affliction, it would spell oneg. Oneg is pleasure and delight. He says the whole difference in life, you could either see afflictions wherever you walk and wherever you go, a problem here, a problem there, a bad person here, a bad person there, a bad deed there, right? Always seeing the nega, the afflictions, the spots, the lesions of life. But if you move your eye to a different position, to a positive position, and you put the ayin in the beginning of the word, suddenly everything is an oneg. Everything is a delight, everything is a pleasure, because you see all the good, all the positive, all the wonderful things around you. And someone once said, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And there's so many stories to illustrate this point, but one slightly humorous story was there was this bar mitzvah boy who had this beautiful bar mitzvah, and there was a dais table. It was him, his father to the right, and the rabbi to the left. And all 3 of them made speeches at the bar mitzvah. And the father made a beautiful speech to his son, and he said, Mazel Tov, I gave him good wishes. And then he said, I want to present you with a gift. And he gave him a beautiful watch. And he also gave him a beautiful pair of tefillin. And he said, I hope you're going to put on your tefillin every day, and so on and so forth. And then The son made a beautiful bar mitzvah speech, and he talked about how he's a man, he's going to put on his tefillin every day, and all these wonderful things he's going to do as a bar mitzvah boy. And then the rabbi made a speech. After the night was over, they're cleaning up, and the son goes to get his watch in his tefillin bag with his tefillin. The tefillin's there, but the watch is gone. And he's wondering, what happened to the watch? The only three people at the table was him, the rabbi, and his father. He knew his father didn't steal the watch, but he figured maybe the rabbi stole my watch, my new watch. So he didn't know what to do. He can't confront the rabbi that he stole his watch. So he carried this with him, this angst, this anger at his rabbi that he stole his watch. 10, 15 years later, this young man gets engaged to a nice Jewish girl, and he goes with his bride to talk to the rabbi about officiating at his wedding. And he comes into Zoe and says, Rabbi, I want you to marry us, Mazel Tov, but I have this one thing I got to get it off my chest. It's been bothering me for 15 years. The rabbi says, what's the matter? He says, you remember my bar mitzvah? He says, yeah, of course, like yesterday. He says, you remember you and my father was sitting to my two sides. My father gave me a beautiful watch as a bar mitzvah present. After the night was over, it was gone. And I'm not saying, I'm not suggesting, I'm just wondering, by any chance, would you happen to know what happened to my watch? And the rabbi says, of course I know where your watch is. He says, really? You know where my watch is? Where's my watch? He says, I put it in your tefillin bag. Here he thought the rabbi was dishonest, but he was the one who was really the dishonest person. He said he was going to put on his tefillin every day, right? It's very easy to see the faults in others. But when we change our position of our eye, instead of seeing the negative in others, we start saying, maybe it's my fault, maybe it's my shortcoming, not the other person's. Then instead of seeing the afflictions, we see the pleasure and the good and the delight in everything in life.